Great. Hello, all of you who are around. I was just asking Sue what she was eating. You have to put on your chat. What's she got to do?
Unmute yourself.
Yeah, unmute yourself.
A Cox's apple.
A Cox's apple.
Jolly good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, one of the things that we're going to possibly struggle with is during a class is any kind of interaction that I would personally love to be able to maintain. And we're thinking, Victoria and I are thinking of ways in which that might be able to happen, either between sessions, or you can write to us, or you can use the chat box and you can come to the next class with a couple of questions. So we have to try and, this is a pilot, and we're trying to work out how it's going to all flow well and easily. But anyway, let's kick off with me introducing myself. I'm Barney Horton, and this is Square Food Foundation. It's a cookery school and food education charity, and we're in Knoll West in Bristol. And there's lots more to say, and maybe during the course of this session, or indeed the sessions that we do in the future, I can tell you a little bit more about our work, because it's very exciting, and we're at a really important point in the history of food, and especially around health. Victoria.
I'm Victoria Kubiak, and I'm one of the nutritional therapists and the cookery demonstrator at Penny Brohn UK. And that was set up around about 40 years ago by a lady called Penny Brohn, who was a cancer survivor. And she felt that she had lots of really good support on how the medical profession were going to help her with her cancer, but she also realised that she was more than her cancer, and she wanted to have elements within her life that would support her. So she set up the charity, and we offer relaxation techniques, we offer elements about food and nutrition and other services as well. So I wanted to come along and join in with Barney. I've been working for Penny Brohn for around about 20 odd years now, and I love talking about food. I love eating food. I love the history of food. I think it's so important to understand how it can help us to support our immune system. So I'm just going to be delightfully in the background here, looking at all these culinary devices that are going to be sent out.
Well, I think it'd be more than that. Victoria and I have known each other for about 6 or 7, maybe even longer, I can't remember, and have done some work. And I've always been interested in the relationship between cancer and diet. And myself, I've had cancer, prostate cancer, now touch wood, okay. But so I know the story a bit, and one thing perhaps we ought to make clear is that, I'm sure you all know this anyway, this isn't about curing cancer. This is about living better and eating well, and making the best, not just of the ingredients that we're going to be on a journey with you, but also the pleasure itself of the process of cooking. As a kind of healing and meditative and all the other things that I think it can bring to life. And so it's, you know, maybe with vegetables, it's a brilliant place to start, because we all know the 5-a-day thing, the 7-a-day thing, or whatever it is now. If you look at any nutritional information, vegetables are right at the top of the advice.
Just before we start on the Hampton, I was just going to say a few housekeeping things. First of all, to say that this session is being recorded. Secondly, there's a poll which would be really, really helpful for us as we work on through the programme. So if you could have a look at that poll and fit it in. All the recipes that we're going through today are going to be sent out afterwards to you, so don't be there scribbling them down now. Just look at Barney and start to smell the food in your own home. And I think that was about it, apart from questions. Questions would be brilliant to have, but probably best to use it as chat box. So if you look at chat box, put in your questions, and at the end we're being supported here by Eloise and Dan and Claire, and then we can have those questions fed to us towards the end of the session. Just in case we forget, Barney, I'm just going to say it now, the 15th of November, which is the next session, 15th of November, same time, and that's going to be looking at fish.
Yeah, we're calling it fishy tails. Yes.
I'm getting excited by all these aromas. So I think
well, we've got so much going on, and one of the things I would say also about vegetables is that I could do a whole month's worth of classes on just this one amazing part of a good diet. But we're going to kind of hone it down to about 6 dishes if we have time, most of which I will have prepared before in the time tested Blue Peter tradition. But we're going to make a roast vegetable curry, seasonal roast vegetable curry. We're going to make a lovely sweet potato and onion dip. We're going to do a raw vegetable salad, which is really delicious. And although it's got a bit autumnal now, this kind of brings back the sort of sense of summer rather than autumn. I'm going to do a lovely dish which I adore, and actually Victoria loves beetroot as well, so we'll probably be talking about that. And we will be talking about the nutritional and the health aspects of what we're doing. That'll be mostly Victoria's job to flag these things up. My knowledge is very much from common sense point of view, really. We're going to be doing a very simple steamed vegetable dish, and we're going to end off with a bruschetta. So it's an Italian dish of greens, 3 different greens. I've just come back from Italy, actually. I was out there teaching at a university of North Italy. And I was thinking at one point that we might do this class. I might do it from the market where I used to go on a Wednesday morning or a Saturday morning, and see if I could sort of cobble together a little kitchen in my apartment there. I'm glad we didn't, but although it was lovely to see the produce in a market, and I think perhaps what I would say, if you can see in the background here, is supermarkets are an essential part of our shopping lives, but if you can possibly do it, go to a farmer's market, go to a really good fruit and veg store, think about where the produce comes from. It comes from the soil, healthy bodies, human beings, and so on.
I think it's so lovely with farmers markets that when you go to the stores, they are also so proud about what they're able to produce with their products as well. And I think that puts it into context as to how it enriches our lives in very many different ways.
Yeah.
So are we off, Barney?
We are off. So I'm starting by making a roast vegetable curry. I could put chickpeas or lentils in it, but I'm going to keep it really simple. And because it's autumn, it's got squash, and you can see some of the ones. I'll be talking about those a bit later. It's got cauliflower, potatoes, carrots. Can't remember what else it's got in it. And it's always got garlic. So I'm going to fry this garlic up a bit. I don't know if you can see that. A little bit more oil in there. But I've done a cunning thing, and I'm very much in favour of this approach to cooking. So I made earlier on a tomato sauce, a very simple but actually really healthy tomato sauce. This way, is that good? So Eloise, by the way, is telling me where to hold things. She's like the ultimate film director, but you can see in here, it's actually got some fresh cherry tomatoes, which I had hanging around in the fridge here, but you could equally use tinned tomatoes. But it's also got a base of vegetables, of celery, carrot, and onion, the holy trinity of vegetables, the base of most stews and soups. And I've made quite a lot, as you'll see there. And I'm going to use a little bit of that for my curry, and then I'm going to make a soup with the rest, maybe not even the rest, and perhaps use it for making another stew, perhaps a meat stew or a pasta sauce. The point being, bulk cooking needs to become part of how you approach cooking. I've always felt this is important, and I'm sure it's interesting. I can't talk to you guys. Well, I am talking to you, but you're not able to nod and say, yes, we know all about that. Thank you very much. Move on. But anyway, it is an important part of it. And in the case of this, this curry, I'm going to use just a little bit of the sauce that I just showed you. I'm going to put in some of my favorite spices. And I'd like Victoria to say if she had to line up her top 5 spices, what would they be?
That's a really difficult one because he actually did mention that to me beforehand. I was saying we went on a walk and the game was to mention our top 5 spices. And we started going to 20 and then we changed our mind and something else. But I'm going to go for ginger. Sometimes my choice is actually to do with the history of it as well. So ginger, I love parsley as just a gentle herb to actually just bring out flavour and things. I would love.
Is that a spice though?
No, that's a herb. Sorry.
That's a herb.
Oh, you see, I've dated already.
Yes, you see.
Okay, my 5 spices. I would be turmeric, paprika, ginger. I love coriander seeds in particular. What would I give? Oh, I'm a great lover of nutmeg.
Nutmeg. Yeah, it's really hard. I think I'd have to have fenugreek in there.
Okay.
I think fenugreek is a classic curry spice, and it has that. As soon as I smell it, I think curry. But other than that, I definitely have all the others.
No, so that means you've got 6.
Is it? Oh, oh, I'd have to take one out. Nutmeg.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't have nutmeg in there. That's it. You can see I've just added while Victoria was telling me about spices. I've added pretty well the spices that she mentioned, and they're all nice and toasty in there.
And also now, lovely aroma.
Yes,
and that is also part of the healing process that food's going to offer you. Smelling your food is going to really switch on your immune system and set you on your way. Lovely.
So I'm going to put some of this lovely tomato-based sauce, very sweet tasting, where it's got no sugar in it. You can see that. I'm going to put a bit of water in there. So that's the curry-based sauce. I'm actually going to put a little bit more ginger. Just needs a bit more, I think, in there.
Ginger is very highly antibacterial. And in the days gone by, ginger beer was actually started by, you would go into the taverna and they would have little pots of ginger during the course of the plague years because of its antibacterial, and you would take a good punch and put it into your ale, and then you'd be able to drink your ale with your mates without catching the plague. So it's actually rather a useful one to take on board, and also brilliant as far as cancer is concerned. If you're feeling a bit nauseous through treatment, really helpful. Ginger roll in ginger slows down the mechanism of your stomach telling your brain you feel sick. So that's how it works.
I love ginger, and actually one of the things I think we're going to be doing a session on condiments, and they're a really kind of important part of cooking as well. I'll be flagging up a couple during this session, but one of them is a golden paste thing, which is turmeric paste basically, which which has pepper in it and all sorts of things. So we'll talk about that, and it's not only very sort of, I've got to like it. I hated it to start with to taste, but it's great with Marmite on toast.
So the turmeric, there's a lot of research going on at the moment for its anti-inflammatory elements. So it's being used a lot in cancer, but also anything with an itis. So if you've got arthritis or colitis or anything that's creating inflammation, turmeric can be certainly very, very helpful.
Good. So here are vegetables that I've just chopped up. So I've got some peppers, some sweet potatoes, some squash, some celeriac. Is that better, Eloise? Some shallots that we had, did I just say that, hanging around, cauliflower, and I'm going to chuck it in here.
And I just noticed you've got the skin on the potatoes.
Yeah, leave the skin on the potatoes.
Lots of goodness.
Lots of skin on lots of vegetables we're using today. Lots of root vegetables for obvious reasons, it's that time of year. And I'm going to toast, in addition to the spices I've chucked in there, I'm going to put some in with the vegetables that I'm going to roast. So this is a roast vegetable curry. I put some salt in there. I think we're going to talk about salt, but perhaps not right now. And some olive oil. and I'm going to spread it out on a roasting tray and put it in a really hot oven. You all see that? So I've mixed it around with my hands so that all those spices and the salt and seasoning and the oils coating everything like that, just like it's basically sort of roasted potatoes. And lo and behold, here it is. That's been in the oven for 25 minutes, courtesy of Claire. And you can see it smells lovely, doesn't it?
It also looks beautiful.
It does look beautiful. It's got that golden colour coming mostly, I can expect, from the turmeric, but it looks really gorgeous. So I'm just going to chuck that in there. I could put some peas in there, but I think I'm just going to leave it as it. What I am going to put in there, though, is some. There it is. The what's it called? Coconut milk. I can't remember the name of it. That's it. Yeah, I'm going to put some coconut milk in there and some coriander, fresh coriander. It gives it a kind of lovely sweetness. There we are. So that's that done. And of course I made it look easy. People have that irritating habit when they've done it forever. And also I prepared everything, but it really is that easy. And if you have this sauce already made in the fridge, maybe frozen even, you've already got a head start. All the work's in that one thing there.
You might be interested in, with the tomatoes, cooked tomatoes have a property called lycopene, which becomes much more absorbable if they're being cooked. And some nice research that's taken over quite a few studies on the use of lycopene for prostate cancer. So tomatoes, cooked tomatoes, even tomato sauce dip would be of benefit to you.
I'm going to stick this in the oven. If you've got an oven on and you're doing other things, use it for this too. Saves hob space. It's a very efficient way. Think of it as a casserole. Doesn't have to cook on top.
And I presume this could freeze really well. If you
this freezes really well. So I'm going to move that out of the way now. So I'm going to move on to do something else and put that there. Because it's hot on some metal surface or something. Wonderful. Right, now
what are we on to next?
We're going to do a dip.
Oh.
This is really one of my favourite dips. It's so sweet potato, cooked very similarly to what we just did with the with those vegetables. Going to put some on the chopping board. I use chopping boards for almost everything. There's the onions that I've cooked, and they're really sweet and delicious. So that has got, these have been cooked with cumin and paprika, just very simple.
They found remnants of sweet potatoes in prehistoric days.
Did they?
And I always think that actually, if something has been around for so long, it's probably a benefit to man. And certainly sweet potatoes are.
Yes. What's good about them, though?
They are really helpful actually for helping to balance blood sugar levels. So although they're actually quite sweet, they are helpful for that, and also great for their carotenoids, which is a nice long word which you don't need to remember. But that orange compound
doesn't sound very nice. Carotenoid sounds like some awful disease.
Well, hopefully it will stop all the awful diseases, and it comes from orange things. Carrots is another good example as well.
Yeah. So you can
also eat the sweet potato grated, but you couldn't obviously do that with a potato.
What, raw? Can you?
Yeah.
Gosh, I didn't. Oh, I'll use it on my salad actually. You could do this in a food processor, but as I said, I really like doing things on a chopping board. It's kind of satisfying. You see what you're doing, and it saves cleaning out a food processor, which, I mean, there are time advantages, I know, in food processors, but I think you should make cooking very much an activity in itself, not a means to an end. Be interested to know what you think about that, you guys. And one of the things that will come up time and again is time. How much time have I got? Everything takes too long.
And effort.
And effort, yeah. So I'm hoping we can, in the process of this program, also kind of shed a bit of light on that and how to kind of make time work for you by doing more than one thing at once. This is the first session we've done. The other one, I don't know if anybody was was on that last one that we failed to deliver on. So we really welcome any feedback you have about whether it's making sense, whether I'm going too fast, whether I'm making it complicated where it could be easy, and above all, whether the dishes that we're doing are ones that you'd want to try yourselves. I think that's really important.
I think there's a world, isn't there, of equipment. Some is actually hard work, and some are just really useful to have around. But actually, one of the things I would say, and I know very quickly, is that if you're going to have one piece of equipment that needs to be spot on, it's a sharp knife. Sharp
knife, yeah. And get a wooden chopping board. Chuck out your plastic chopping boards. Get wood. It's healthier. It's more beautiful. It's better for knives. Don't bother with plastic anymore. So I'm putting some lemon juice in here.
And the equipment there is your hands, rather than getting out the lemon squeezer.
Yeah, it's probably less efficient than the lemon squeezer, but anyway. And I'm going to put some olive oil, and then me and Victoria are going to try it, because we can. See what you think, Victoria. I'll get you here.
I love the texture by doing
this. It's good, isn't it? Yeah.
Lovely.
Good, isn't it?
It is good.
Mm.
One of the things I think is really helpful on that is using the lemon. That sourness, which is good for the digestive system, also helps to differentiate the levels of flavour. So the levels of flavour really come out if you just put a little bit of sour there. Lemon is an example of that. Also, however, to say, Bunny, that if you want to put some lemon rind or grate that lemon and freeze it for later on, that contains a compound called limonene. Limonene can be really helpful for supporting the immune system.
Yeah.
As does orange rind, which is called hesperate.
So I'm going to show you one other little trick, actually, because this has a certain kind of dip-like consistency. And we were talking earlier about what consistency you might want this. So that's a dip, and then with a little bit of water, might sound a bit weird this, but a bit of water like that. Water is an ingredient. It's not just something you cook in or with. So I'm using it as an ingredient, and I'm going to loosen this whole thing up. I'm doing it on this plate like this so you can see what I'm doing. And after a certain point, perhaps with a bit more blitzing, maybe, it becomes something you could just drizzle more or less, spread over something. So it could be in addition to, so I'm going to do some greens later, and they'd go, this thing would go really well with like kale or some, green, very earthy vegetable. So there we are. So that's that. Good. I'm going to put those there. Try not to avoid. And I'll give those to you, Claire. We should have got Claire to taste it, but I think we will ask Claire to taste this. And then you can give us your opinion, Claire, on the sweet potato and onion dip. I reckon that little dish probably took 5 minutes work, 20 minutes of cooking time, and what you saw me do here. So it's really very simple. Okay, we are going to do, I think we might actually, we're going to do two things at once now. Because I want to make sure we have time if necessary. Please, if you're thinking of, if you've got any questions or any ideas, any comments, please let us have them. But yeah, we are going to do this bruschetta thing. So it's an Italian, I said I was in Italy until last week. This is a very Italian kind of dish. And it requires some good bread. This bread I made this morning. It's mostly wholemeal. It's actually my mum's recipe from about the 1950s, I think. And it was based on a wartime loaf recipe, because it was considered, it's called the Grant loaf. Some of you may even have heard of it. And it was because it would have fiber in it. It wasn't using refined flours. it was almost, in this case, it's almost 75% wholemeal. It's got some rye, it's got some flour that we milled with a local school when we were doing a little project.
That mention of fibre, though, always remember it's such a useful and important element to our diet. And we can be a little bit fibre-less if we're orientated towards refined foods. But yeah, make sure that you've got regular fibre in your diet, so that's going to be helping you along there.
Yeah. So cut a couple of slices. That's one for me and one for Victoria.
Yeah.
And now put those to one side a minute. Those are ready to be bruschetted, I suppose you could say. In other words, you can either toast the bread, or you can do it in a frying pan, which I'm going to do, so you can see what I'm doing. But before I do that, I'm going to get this some cabbage going. So I've got. You see that? Is it a good position there, Eloise?
Yeah.
More or less. And one of these. I need another one of those big knives, please, Kale. So I've got 3 cabbages. I've got a cavalier or black cabbage. Very, very easy to find nowadays. So this is curly kale, and this one is the classic old Savoy. And
So what would you call that family?
Brassica.
Brassica.
Yeah.
Okay.
Along with which other ones are in the Brassica family?
Broccoli.
Broccoli.
Which is always a good one to use
Yeah.
in and pop in. Cabbage, broccoli, sprouts.
Sprouts.
I love sprouts.
Yeah.
You either you either love them or you hate them. But that will cover sprouts another time.
We will. We're going to do a Christmas session. Is it very noisy? Am I making a noise? Is it wrong? Okay, just checking in with our director over there, making sure I'm not. Okay, so
Is it important to strip these when it comes? Sometimes it's a little bit.
Good point. Very good point. Thank you. I have stripped off the stalky bits. I do sometimes cook with the stalks. Maybe we'll look at that another time, because you can break down the fibre in the stalks. Of course, they're full of good things, but they're also very tough to start with, so we'll ignore that.
I think that's a good point, because I think sometimes people don't use them because they're not quite sure how to digest the sauce.
We'll just chop these a tiny weeny bit. So they're not all going to cook quite at the same time. So I would say, which one would you say is going to cook quickest out of these lot? Victoria, what would be your guess?
I would say the quickest.
Yeah.
Probably the stripped
the kale. Yeah, I'd say the kale. I think that's going to take the longest. But anyway, I'm going to chuck them all in at once, and we'll put some water in it. It doesn't matter if they're slightly different in their cooking.
That's going to be a different texture anyway, which is part of the eating.
So tiny bit of olive oil in there. You can hear that noise of the spitting. And I'm going to get just a tiny bit of colour in there. So that you get it's not burnt, but just a little bit of colour. It's all going in there. All those 3. Victoria, can you get me a frying pan and stick it on that left-hand ring there? Thank you.
What size?
That one. So I've got those 3 cabbages in there, 3 brassicas. I'll need some more spoons as well, Claire, please. One of the things about doing demonstrations or actually doing a cookery class is that you use loads and loads of pans, and you've got to have somebody who's just washing up all the time. In this case, it's poor Claire, but she's long-suffering and extremely good at it. One of our many amazing volunteers at Square Food Foundation. We're so lucky to have them. And I'm going to say this now, actually, because it's more and more on my mind. They're almost entirely women. And in fact, I don't know if anybody knew this, but 80% of the world's production and cooking of food is done by women in the world. What about that?
Good at multitasking.
Well, yeah. but yet they don't have the power. So look, it's smoking a tiny bit. I'm going to just show you something here. You can see that, just a tiny bit of colour on there. Now I'm going to put the water in, and I need a lid for this pan to start.
You know, when you can hear that sizzle is part of the cooking experience as well.
Yeah, very much so. Thank you. That's it. Hide it away.
So what temperature have you got that on now?
Put a bit more water in there. So I have just put just enough water so that the cabbage is all going to cook really well, but no more, so I don't have to drain it off. And it means, of course, that all the nutritional benefits, the value in those in the cabbage is retained. It's not getting lost when you drain off the water. So there's my 2 bits of toast, well, bread, bit of olive oil. I love olive oil. I want to show you, get those olives. I'll just show people the olives. Just out of curiosity, you may want to see these, or it may be the last thing you want to see, but I'll show you anyway. But I pick these olives. These are eating olives, and I pick them in Abruzzo, in the east side of Italy. And I'm going to try and turn them into olives that will be edible. You have to soak them in water and refresh them in 12 different. You have to rinse them 12 times and then put them in brine. But it's quite nice.
People sometimes think you actually pick an olive from the olive tree.
No, you can't. I did eat one olive. Somebody said, I said, oh gosh, are these eating olives? And they said, yes. So I tried one. It was so disgusting. Yes.
So Sue wants to know how much water went in the pan of cabbage.
Very good question, Sue. Just the right amount is the answer. So, and I'm not being facetious, but by the way, the recipes will indicate what you do. So I'm going to look at this now. I'm going to show you.
You don't want them to be soaking in it, do you?
No, it's just you want it so you can see in the bottom there, can't you?
Yeah.
There's enough water there to keep it from burning.
But it does help to retain the texture.
Yeah,
and the colour.
I can always add a little bit more after it's so we're nearly at that point where I'm going to do the. Actually, I'm going to swap these over, so you won't be able to see that one for a minute, but it's sitting happily over there, cooking away. So I've got these 2 pieces of delicious bread, and I'm going to turn into grilled bread. So I'm going to do it on the top, in the frying pan. You could toast it, obviously not with oil on it, because that would make a mess of your toaster. But I really like it grilled in the Italian fashion.
Have you put the olive oil just on one side?
Just put it on one side, and I've got some old, it says here, garlic oil, please use. So I'm using it. There we are. A little bit there, just to give it a bit of a garlicky flavour. Sometimes, as you might see in the recipe, I suggest you can put a little bit of chili in with the cabbage. Certainly you want to put lemon in at the end, definitely, because that gives a lovely, and then sometimes Parmesan. Should we put a bit of Parmesan with it on top? I think we will, because it is Italian. So in the fridge, you'll find a block of Parmesan. So one of the things I'm aware of is that you'll all be conscious of what constitutes a safe and healthy and appropriate diet to people with cancer. And one of the things we know is that dairy products are in the limelight because they're not necessarily that good for you.
I think what science does seem to find is there's a lot of therapeutic diets out there, but actually a plant-orientated diet. It doesn't mean to have to become vegan or whatever, but a plant-orientated diet, all science agrees is good for you. So we just need to concentrate on making sure that's the emphasis in the way that we do.
Yes, well, I agree with that. So it would be interesting to get your thoughts on the subject of things like meat perhaps less so fish, but also dairy products and butter and so on. I use butter, I use dairy products, and this isn't about a vegan diet. But what I am going to make sure it is that every dish that we do could be just made vegan. It doesn't have to have any of those other ingredients in it. So I think we're almost there with this. I'm just going to try a bit of the kale here. Just a tiny bit more. There. I want to get a bit of colour on these. Let's see what they look like there. Can you see that? Just slightly toasty, a little bit of, maybe even just a tiny bit burnt, not really burnt, but sort of getting towards that. I think, thinking of your question, Sue, about how much water was I going to put in with the cabbage, I think cooking is really about kind of listening to and looking at what's going on and kind of using your instinct, trusting your instinct much more than you think you should. You know, what's the worst that's going to happen? Do you agree with that?
I think that's incredibly important. I think following our intuition, I think a lot of people underestimate how strong their intuition is.
Yeah. And how right it is.
Yeah.
As well.
And also I think that leads on to simplicity.
Yeah.
And I always say simplicity can sometimes be our greatest sophistication. So keeping things simple doesn't mean there's a simplistic use. It actually is paramount, I think, to the way we live.
Okay. For the sake of getting this out, I think the cabbage is certainly done. So I'll put that just here for a minute. And we'll put these, I know what we'll do, because we've got this special board. Do you want to get that board there? We'll put it on that very strange shaped board. Thank you. This is a very odd board, but might as well use it for something. If anybody's got an idea of why it's this shape, let me know, because I can't understand. It's got something like, well, anyway, there we are. So, but it does look quite pretty, doesn't it? That's done with. So 2 pieces of lovely, freshly made 80% wholemeal, 70% wholemeal bread with cabbage on it. Sounds strange already, you're thinking, but wait till you taste it. It'll be a little bit less like pappardelle. It'll be all right.
That colour has kept itself.
Isn't it? I mean, that is the thing. Just look at the colours on that. You've got all the 3 different cabbages kind of represented in that one thing. I'm going to put some lemon. What were you saying about a sharp knife? This is the bluntest knife in the world. I managed to do it anyway. A little bit of lemon without the pip there. Not that it would do you any harm. I'm going to put a tiny bit of salt because I don't know if you noticed I put hardly anything in there. And I know salt's another thing we have to be wary of. And then I'm just going to put some Parmesan shavings. It looks pretty, doesn't it? So that's why I'm doing it raw. This huge piece of Parmesan. You won't have one of these in your kitchen, I doubt. But you could put, and I'll show you some options in a minute. Making a bit of a pig's ear of this. You could put manchego, you could put goat's cheese, feta would do. But I was thinking more of not putting cheese, but of putting, for instance, somewhere I've got this. So this is dukkha. This is made, it's a lovely sort of toasted hazelnuts, sesame seeds, some spices, and that would be really nice scattered over. Or another little thing, it's not exactly a condiment, but these are pumpkin seeds and sesame seeds just tossed in a bit of soy sauce and some, what do you call it, tamari sauce. Tamari. Yeah.
And I think what's useful on these ones is that you've got some lovely carbohydrate and vegetable orientated dish, topping it up with some protein and extra fibre by using these condiments. It's going to give an overall help to the immune system.
Exactly. So I'm going to put a bit more olive oil on there. Can't have enough of that. I would be putting a lot more on if you guys weren't watching, by the way, but anyway. So I'm going to suggest that Claire takes this, tries it, and lets us know what it's like. You can be totally honest. You don't have to say it's lovely. So that's the cabbage bruschetta, for want of a better word. So now I'm going to do, how are we doing for time? Are we all right for time?
Yeah, we're fine for time.
Okay.
I think I've got time. What do we do next? Oh, my favourite.
What, beetroot one?
Yes.
Okay, beetroot it is. So look at those. Those were just blasted in a really hot oven, 210 degrees, along with other vegetables that I cooked, you saw.
Sometimes people are put off because they think they're all going to go red and messy. But
no.
The beauty of this is that you did it.
I did it
all completely.
Completely. The skin's on. All I did was wash them, leaving the root on. Don't touch them. I mean, it also stops. Apart from it's delicious, as you'll see. Well, you'll see. You won't be able to taste, sadly. But it's also it's a really good way of cooking them. So it's like a baked potato. Think of it as a baked potato.
Just talking about the beetroot there, really helpful for iron. So if anybody's really lacking in iron or feeling a bit anemic, really helpful with the iron. There has been some very good studies. I think it's actually on Sarah's therapy team. It's got elements which can really support the heart and stamina. So based on 70 ml shots of beetroot juice per day, had really good results. So I did. I take 70 ml shots of beetroot juice in the morning myself.
Brilliant.
And it really does make you feel quite zingy.
Well, I love beetroot too, and there are all sorts of things I could do with this as well, beyond what I'm going to do, but I'm leaving the skins on. I'm going to cut it into slices. I love this dish. Even the end bit. Try it. You think, yeah, you think, God, it's going to taste or whatever. But I did clean it really thoroughly. So
I think this is a really good example of really getting in tune with how tastes marry up with each other.
Yeah.
I know that this recipe is going to have some walnuts, and I think it's going to have what's the other one I was going to say? The walnuts, the cheese.
Sheep's cheese. Yeah.
Those three flavors together. If you haven't tried it, it's massively worthwhile trying it. They really do blend well together, don't they?
They do. Yeah, perfect. So there's the beetroot, just baked in the oven. This is it's sort of delicate. It's a sheep's milk curd actually, but it's essentially like cottage cheese. It's exactly the same way. It's the fresh cheese minus the whey. And I'm just going to put a little bit of that there, and then I'm going to put some walnuts, which I got somewhere. We've got them somewhere. While we're looking for the walnuts, I'm going to show you.
You had them from the oven?
Yes, I did. I took them out of the oven. This is the thing about me. I always forget where I put things, but we'll find them. But while they're looking for them, I'm going to pour some of this stuff on. Has anybody come across this? Hands up if you come across this thing down there like that. This is pomegranate molasses or pomegranate syrup, and it's I prefer it now to balsamic vinegar, which is it's a bit last year really, isn't it, balsamic? So I'm going to put a few drops of that. It's very strong, so you don't need much.
I think that's important, isn't it? I think once to have an element of prettiness rather than soaking it. It's not in as part of the soaking.
Yeah, so it's just a little bit, a tiny bit over the top.
Pomegranate again, very, very helpful and supportive to the heart.
Yeah, and then some walnuts. So again, you're adding a little bit of protein and fibre into it. Yeah. And the omega, I always remember omega is very rich in omega-3. Omega-3 is an essential fatty acid, really essential for supporting the immune system, anti-inflammatory. But walnuts are a very good source. You can always remember that because omega-3 is very helpful for the brain, maybe like little brains. So connection there. Yes. For me, anyway. Indeed. I mean, this is so interesting. Yes, please do. What Victoria is saying is that all this stuff is here around us. That when you explore, you go into the subject of whatever ingredient it is, you discover all sorts of nutritional things about it. And the problem with the way our diet's gone and food's gone is that we've sort of removed that part of the world of food in a funny way. We've refined it, we've homogenized it, we've made our thinking about food really sort of linear. And this is I think vegetables are the kind of way into exploring just how fantastically diverse and healthy it is. I could put a bit of pepper on, but I won't actually, because I think it looks quite nice like that.
Yep, if it was me, I'd be adding my fifth spice. I'd be a dash of nutmeg.
Nutmeg.
There you go. I got it in there somewhere.
I'll put it there. Right, so now we're going to do the. Actually, let's have a look at this curry. Just suddenly remembered. Always remember, if you put a pan in the oven which has got a handle on it, the handle is hot, so don't do that. It is hot, and I've made that mistake a few times.
That looks gorgeous.
Doesn't it look lovely? It does. I'm just going
actually, if you just close your eyes and think of this beautiful colour, you will start to smell the aromas, because that is beautiful.
Will they?
Well, I
think there's a truth in that.
There is.
It's like when you're watching a film, you can sometimes, which has got food in it, you can, or you can sort of taste the salt of the sea when you're.
Absolutely.
It's some sort of funny brain thing that happens there. So that's been, how long has that been in, folks? Maybe 25 minutes? Half an hour. It's done. It could do with a little bit more liquid, I have to say. It's just a bit more, and I could do it with rice. I could have added lentils to it, but on the other hand, it's just perfect as it is.
That's a personal thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
As far as the texture is.
Brilliant. So where were we? Oh, we're going to do these steamed vegetables. I'm going to have to put a bit more in there. I have a splash more. There we are. So I said we were talking, Victoria and I were talking earlier about vegetables, the taste of a vegetable at its most pure. And it's not something we do very much. We tend to add things like spices or other flavors. Butter particularly is one which will go with potatoes, for instance. If you boil potatoes, you're going to chuck butter in. I mean, I always do. But it's really interesting to just try, and I'm going to do it with two vegetables. The vegetables pretty well without anything else. And there's no better way to show off a vegetable in this way than to steam them. I don't know if anybody's got one of these. I need a lid, actually. There we are. I'm going to put this thing on top of there now.
Your choice of vegetables there being broccoli and carrot, again,
yes,
two very well known for their support along the cancer journey.
Yeah,
particularly the broccoli there.
We had a class of small children here today on one of their holiday classes. For this, I think I'm going to just try that. Yeah, that's the one. Excellent. So I've got a good lid. These are great. They look so pretty and they're very old-fashioned, and I think, and they work really well. So I've got a pan here with this basket. I'm just going to empty a little bit of water out of it. It wants to sit, so it really is just steaming. You can see that. So the water's about ½ an inch below the level of the base of the steamer. Anyway, I was just saying about children and broccoli. It's the one thing they really love. Carrots and broccoli. They really like it. I don't know why.
My stepson used to call it little trees.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to cut these carrots and get them in pretty well now, because they're going to take slightly longer.
Again, that's coming through the carotenoids.
Yeah. Just try this. As a matter of interest, send a message. Who likes just plain boiled vegetables? As a matter of curiosity, does anybody? If you do, let us know via the chat. What's it called?
Chat box.
Chat box. So that's cooking away now.
Sue likes them.
Sue likes them. Yeah, so this won't be news to Sue then. Have you done it like this, Sue, as a matter of interest? Steamed them. So I've got, that'll be enough for me, I think.
Also, just to say, you are taking the time to actually utilise the stalks.
Yeah,
as well, aren't you? Some
100%.
people just flourish stalk.
Yeah, I've actually got an old style broccoli here. I was going to use this one, but I decided to use that one. But if you don't do this, do it from now on. Strip off the stalky bit, the outer more tough and fibrousy bit. Use a potato peeler if you like. Get rid of that bit because it's too tough, like that, and then cut it into, like I did with the carrot. And this, I mean, both raw. In fact, I'm going to use this. It's the best, isn't it?
Lovely, thank you.
So delicious, sweet, crunchy, perfect.
Very delicious roasted, actually.
Yeah. So I'm going to put some of those in there. I must remember this one. I'm going to forget to time it. I'm going to say 5 minutes.
Okay.
I'm trying to avoid spitting broccoli all over the chopping board. Most unsavoury. Right. So my almost.
Now that you put that on, is that on a simmer or is it on a high heat?
It's on a sort of simmer, actually. It's on slightly too high, actually.
Okay.
Should be on a simmer, just gently.
So what are we doing? On to the next dish, shall we?
We're doing, what's the next dish? I know what it is. It's a salad. So I've got.
I think this is interesting because sometimes people think salad, lettuce, tomato, cucumber, and yet you've gone all tongue here, haven't you?
I have. So they're all vegetables that you associate with being cooked for the most part. I mean, I know we all know we can eat all these things raw, but so I'm going to use somewhere I've got a potato peeler. Here we are. A potato peeler to prepare most of them. So I'm going to just take the skin and all. Slightly big. I'm using the ones that I found in the shop that I went to yesterday. They were there, so I'm using them. So that's a courgette. Here's the carrot, same treatment. Maybe rest it on the board when you do it, so it's sort of easier and a bit safer.
I think actually that's one of the best tools I've got.
Yeah, they're brilliant.
Potato peeler, rather than getting out a piece of equipment.
That can go in here. So that's all the carrot I need for that. Now I'm going to make slightly smaller florets of the cauliflower. I could easily use broccoli as well. What else? What other vegetables might one use, Victoria, do you think?
Well, beetroot.
Beetroot would be lovely. When you do use beetroot, you want to do it separately. Do I need to say why? Put it in at the last minute because it will stain everything else and it will make it all a little bit purpley. And there's nothing wrong with it, but it just won't look as nice. So I got some fennel, which I absolutely love, that licoricey, tarragon-y type, which I'm going to cut like this.
Actually, you had some fresh little peas.
Oh, that would be good. Well, that's the summer version.
Yeah.
So when you get this recipe, actually, I've gone through spring, summer, autumn, winter, all the different possibilities of this salad, including some herbs which we've got there. Would you like to pick me a few lovely herbs? I'd like some mint.
I think the fennel is really important because people often don't know what to do with the fennel, do they? They think it has to be cooked, and yet it's beautiful that undertone of aniseed in the dish.
I'm just interrupting the process. It's not quite there.
For another 2 minutes.
Another 2 minutes? Yeah, exactly. Aren't we clever?
So, herbs.
Herbs. I'd like some dill and some mint. So would you like to pick me some?
There you go.
So
dill and mint. Oh, dill. Now dill is one of my favourite herbs. Dill is Norse for to lull, and it kind of lulls for you. Yeah, it's kind of. Where am I going?
there it is.
There we are.
There it is. That's it.
It lulls in the wind, and it's very beautiful. Now, the thing about dill, really, really helpful for the upper digestive. I think people who've had children might have used bright water in the past with their face, remembering or forgetting as grown-ups that dill, bright water is based on dill. So really helpful for the upper digestive for any digestive issues. And then what do you ask me for, mint?
Mint, yes. So I'd like just a few little bits picked, please.
Okay.
A few mint leaves. And I'm doing, whilst Victoria's picking the herbs, I am shaving this. Does anybody know what this is?
Oh, yes, my favourite.
Good.
I always call him my little ugly guy, but he's lovely. Celeriac.
It is celeriac. I'm imagining that celeriac is something I always associate with Christmas, with celeriac and like a mixed root vegetable mash with parsnip, celeriac, and what would be the other one? Swede, of course. Swede.
Swede is lovely.
Yeah.
I'm shredding them rather than cutting them.
You can just chuck them in on the top of that.
Again, mint, a very helpful one for the upper digestive. Okay.
Back a tiny bit. There we are.
There we are. And
Just
your mint again, upper digestive.
So those are, and I love that combination. Both those herbs really work well together. I might use tarragon. I wouldn't probably use parsley. I certainly wouldn't use basil or coriander.
No, that would take it over, wouldn't it?
I just need the last of my ingredients for this, which is watercress.
Oh.
Yeah, I prefer watercress to rocket, really.
Okay, so can I just say that with that, really, really important, we'll probably touch on it anyway when we do the condiment session, but bitter and pungent compounds on a regular basis is what I would call the base to a digestive fire. And the more you can get a slick digestion, the better your immune system is going to be. So, rocket, watercress, radish, really important to get in on a regular basis. Unfortunately, with watercress, where we used to have it very regularly for around the country, because everybody had watercress farms and they had special trains that would take them around, that doesn't exist anymore. So we do need to have a little bit of thought into getting that pungent bitterness coming in.
Yeah, I mean, it's still there though. You can buy it.
But bitterness has also been bred out quite a lot.
Yeah.
Things aren't as pungent.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes.
As they used to be.
No, I agree totally. Sometimes it's just dismal. Okay, this is definitely done now. Those are our steamed vegetables. We'll come back to the steamed vegetables in a minute. Perfect there, actually, by some extraordinary fluke. Right, so I've got the herbs, I've got watercress, I've got all these different vegetables of which you saw me prepare. And the thing about this dish is more of this lemon. Sorry about that, folks. More lemon and more olive oil. You could put lime, that would be lovely. You might, if you did that, I would take out the dill and the mint and put in coriander instead. Okay. Which would be equally lovely, and maybe even a touch of fresh ginger as well. So you could put coriander and ginger and lime juice to put through this. Be lovely, delicious.
And that's another married flavour, isn't it? Lime and ginger, I think, always works well. Yeah,
and I think I'm just sort of suddenly thinking through. Some of you maybe kind of, I don't know. We'll find out. I hope you'll let us know that. You know, darting about in this way from one different thing to another is maybe a bit tiring or a bit. We should perhaps sometimes I think I should concentrate on one little thing. But the point about food and about cooking and so on is making connections between one idea that leads you to another one. It's a trigger for something else, and you think, oh yeah, and it's all about just going on doing it. And even if your repertoire at this time is both perhaps challenged because of being either yourself or the people you're caring for living with cancer, you know, where you're having to rethink everything, as I know for myself. Thinking in terms of of variety and being brave about making intuitive choices is really important. So we have to try this one anyway. And more of this olive oil. I could use, I might, if I'd had really nice fresh walnut oil, I think I would have used that.
Yeah.
Not walnuts, but walnut oil. But I think that's a lovely salad. And as Victoria said, you could use peas, broad beans, asparagus. Oh, what else? I mean, thinking the summer months.
If you're thinking of the oils, avocado oils.
Avocado,
actually,
yeah.
you could put avocado in the salad as well.
Yeah, you could put avocado in a salad, exactly. And you could put also nasturtiums and marigold flowers are really lovely in the salad as well.
Always bearing in mind, trying to put in the colour. Colour is the single word that will stand you in good stead.
Okay, this is the last, that's that one. You should always nibble while you're cooking, by the way.
If you wanted the dressing on the side, what ideas would you have, Bonnie?
I'd say just a lemon and olive oil dressing, nothing more.
Yeah.
Let the vegetables sing. We'll keep that for another day. But here is this, and I have got a couple of other things that we could put on it, and I'm going to put just to show you. It's a lovely cat. Everything smells so good. It's totally simple.
And the colour's been retained too.
Yeah, exactly. You don't get that when you boil them so much. So I did something. You could go down this route. This is a yogurt and tahini. Tahini is a paste of sesame seeds and mixed together with yogurt and the ubiquitous lemon juice, and you've got a really lovely.
Just with the sesame, really good source of magnesium, which sadly sometimes is just lacking in our soil these days.
Yeah.
An incredibly important mineral that we have to take on board within our diets on a daily basis. Lots of people who are poorly end up being low on magnesium levels. Sesame is a really good way of getting that back in.
Yeah.
With your nuts and seeds, but particularly with the sesame.
Yes, indeed.
It
does, doesn't it? Yeah. That's kind of. I reckon that's about it. Are we all right on the time front? I think we kind of are, aren't we?
Should we put the dishes together?
Oh well, they've been. Have I ruined them?
No, they're lovely. But
what did you think of the bruschetta, Claire?
Yeah.
Was it?
There we are. That's great. So there we go. 1, 2.
1, 2, 3, 4. It's all a bit messy because people have been nibbling at them. We used to have a mouse problem here.
Yeah.
And that's the curry. There we are. So we have got. So I didn't do 6. How many did I do then?
We've got the curry, the dip. Yep. The bruschetta.
Yeah.
Yep. The beetroot. Yes. Cauliflower, broccoli. Oh, which you put on top of the breast,
yes,
right?
That's it. That's it.
And the salad.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So it is all there.
And again, colour.
Where is the salad then? I've lost the salad.
Yes.
There we are. Good. So you'll have to tell us which is your favourite, just looking at them, and which one you might have a go at. But I think that's kind of it for now. Yeah, if you have any questions, just fire away anything that might come to mind. And if you don't have any right now, keep them for next time. And if you want to get in touch between now and the fishy one that we're going to be doing in November, please do. We welcome your thoughts, welcome ideas about what would make it easier or more accessible. And of course, if there's anyone else you know who feels they might benefit from this, encourage them to join us, because we want to extend this so that it's something available to quite a wide group. So we want to get it right. We want to get the format right. Victoria and I, we're amateurs. We're starting on this game, aren't we? And we
so
want to
if
make
you
sure
want
it's
more
right.
information on Penny Brohn, please do look at our website. There's going to be some information I think put out to you as well on that. But Again, if something cropped up today and you think you need a little bit of more one-to-one advice on that, then if you go into our website and look into bookings and perhaps ask to have a one-to-one phone call with me, Victoria Kubiak, then of course I'd be delighted to be able to help you.
Good.
Quick poll questions.